Joe Jazz on Tap Sportsnet. Greg, thank you so much for the time. The question du jour of the week, what are our expectations for Philip Zinkernagel for Saturday's game?
It's hard to tell right now. He did warm up with the group today, and wasn't able to continue. But we'll see as the game goes. We think that we still have 48 hours to the game time, so we'll go down to the wire.
And what are then the challenges you put forth towards the Jonathan Bombas, towards the Hugo Kuipers, even Gutis, when you potentially have an entire week to prepare for an absence such as Phillips?
Well, I think it's more than that. We think Marin played extremely well in the game. So for us, you're missing one of the top players in the league, but you're filling in with a guy that performed really well. I mean, if you could imagine, you learn 15 minutes before or 20 minutes before the start of the game that you're starting, and for him to perform the way he did, it shows how in tune he is with what's happening. And also his preparation, mental preparation, tactical preparation to to be able to fill his role the way he did. So if Philip can't play, it's really about next man up, and you've heard me say that a lot of times this season.
Teresa Limon with Chicago Fire Radio in Spanish. Coach, how is the team doing in practices during these days up to the match? And how is the team doing as far as like the midfielders, like you just mentioned, Gutierrez, knowing that you did that transition in the match and it impacted the game as well?
Yeah, I think that what I really like about Guti is how he's embraced this role, because he knows that he has the ability to impact the team, whether he's starting or whether he's coming off the bench. And he's done that in every game for the last 2 months, and that's really important. Some games that we choose for a different formation, and we have a plan, and it means that we're going to have to leave some starters out, and it's been Guti sometimes, but we haven't seen a drop in his performance, and that when I talk about credit and a guy who's really understanding of the team, Guti's one of those players as well. So really happy with him. But the week was good. It started with us needing to get some rest, right? We had a busy week, the previous week, with a lot of games, a lot of travel, a lot of intensity. We need to get some rest, but we need to ramp it up now. And today is a day where you start, getting to a point, and tomorrow for sure, where the intensity increases for Saturday, because we know what type of game it's going to be. An elimination game against a very good opponent, and we have to be prepared.
We'll take some questions from Zoom. We'll start with Charles Boehm from MLSsoccer.com.
Hey, Charles, how you doing? I think it's a couple things. I think, first of all, it shows where this group has come to, where the progress this group has made, the team has made, both on an individual level and collective level. We've made a ton of progress, and that's good to see. Secondly, we've seen the excitement around the city. And, I've mentioned this before of Chicago Fire being a sleeping giant, and I really believe that. We see people around the street are asking us about the game. There's a lot more attention. Tickets are selling a lot quicker than before, and that needs to be the standard. When you see Philadelphia, as an example, it's a club that also has a short history, but has a recent history of success. And when you're in the stadium for a playoff game, you can see that everyone understands the rituals. Everyone understands what's happening in the stadium. And we don't have that yet. We want to build that, and we believe we're on a good pathway, but we have a lot of work to still do. Well, I still think we're exactly who we are. We scored two, we gave up two. That's pretty much who we've been all year, right? scoring a lot of goals away from home. The only team that shut us out away from home was Philly. I think we were one short of the MLS record for goals scored away from home. With us, though, I think I think everybody realizes that to really be successful, to really win in the league, you need to be able to defend better. So there has been an increased focus on that.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Tim Hotsey from Men in Red 97.
Well, I think our first half was outstanding. We're really happy with the first half of the game. I felt like we took the crowd out of it. We held Philly to very low XG. What was their XG at halftime? 0 or something. It was very low. And so we were really happy with that. Necessity forced us to change, and when we did, we opened up a little bit. And Philly scored a goal on a counterattack. They're very good at counterattacking. It's something we need to be aware of. But for us, it's really about looking at each and every game and how we can be most successful in each game.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Alex Campbell from CHGO.
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's something we've been looking at and focused on. I think that if we're able to have more stable ball possession, we can advance the ball into the final third and perhaps get in some better positions. I think when you have quick attacks, you always run the risk of timing. If you don't have clear possession and your fullbacks are going forward, you can really open yourself up. So I think there's a number of ways to do it. But having said that, we still want to be aggressive, and we still want to take advantage of moments that they're unbalanced.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Jim Alexander from Real Talker.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I didn't think it was a red card. I think it was there was embellishment by Wagner. The move didn't look great. I admit that. He came to him in an aggressive fashion, and it's just a shame because it should have probably been 3 yellows across the board for all 3 players, but instead we got 2 yellows and a red, and Sergio misses his game. We appealed the red card, and we were unsuccessful in the appeal. So, it is what it is. He's going to be missing. And there is, an element of control that we need to have, and especially, not running up to a player, from that type of distance.
Greg, one player I wanted to ask you about is his role. It kind of changes week to week, given not really the role, you don't understand, but the minutes and expectations should the team be in front or behind it. This is a Sam Rogers thing with, being a center back who hasn't necessarily gotten the consistent minutes, but now as it's the back 5, he provides that opportunity to go up, as does Jack Elliott. But what does it do when he's able to be in the lineup for extended periods of time? Because it seems like him and Jack then are really able to push up the pitch.
I think it gives us good balance, good physicality. It gives us variability with attacking in wide areas. He had a great pass the other day to Dean for the cross that put them in some problems. But he's done a good job. He's done a good job, contributing in these games. So I think a Minnesota game, Columbus, so. he's done a great job. And, much like other players, when you play a certain formation, there's room for him. When you play another formation, he may not be the first choice. So you have to deal with that. And he's been doing a good job doing that.
We'll go to Tim, and then we'll come back to you. Tim, I see your hand is up.
Well, our back is against the wall. This is an elimination game. So it's a good type of pressure, and we've earned the right to have this pressure. What was the quote from the U.S. Open? Remember, pressure is a privilege. Yeah. And that's something that, again, we know it's an elimination game. If we want to keep going in these playoffs, we're going to have, 4 elimination games coming up before we can get to a final. So that's what's happening from now on. It's, I guess that's how you come to terms with the 3-game series, is that, even though you feel like the performance was good, we've gotten a tie out of the game, we actually didn't. We lost in penalties, and now we're facing elimination. So here we go.
Greg, I did want to ask you about you've got guys in your back room who have experience with the 3-game series, be it Joe Bendick, Hector Jimenez, just recent players. How has it been collaborating with some guys who really have done this recently in helping prepare this group when it was different when you were in MLS the last time?
Yeah, no, it's been good to pick their brain and hear everyone's perspective. It's interesting because you expect, when you're going down to the end stages of games and it's a close score line, there's no difference between losing by 2 goals or 1 goal. And that changes the dynamic of the game. Whereas if you're home and away, it's a different dynamic. So, it's something you got to prepare for.